Hey everyone, P. McGee here, and I wanted to take another look at the battle between Emmo and Coil that happened earlier this week. I know we all got some good laughs about the end game and how long this match took. There was some interesting decisions on both sides, and there was a lot of really useful information that I think we can dissect a little bit out of this match and give folks a chance to make this a learning experience, both for Emmo and Coil, and then for the community in general, to kind of see where some opportunities were for both sides to exploit and where they did and did not take advantage of those and how that impacted this game. So we're going to take a much deeper dive into this match and try to break down a few of the situations that happened and where they could have gone right in taking control of those moments, and then how those misplays would later shape the rest of this game. So we're going to play it at a slow speed. When interesting turns happen, I'm going to stop it and explain what's going on and where there are opportunities to improve or what they did really, really well in those turns. So the match starts off with a lead of Mian Chao versus Rotom Mo. And so he's about to U-turn here. And so this is a really, really good lead from Emmo. There's not a lot he can do to stop this Mian Chao, which we later will learn is scarved from doing whatever it wants. Scarf Mian Chao has a super safe U-turn in front of this Rotom, and so easy to take full advantage of that. There's just not much Rotom can do. And he does the really, really smart thing here, which is hard pivoting into his Emolga with the motor drive ability. So now it can't volt switch out. Emmo's in full control of the game right now, and so he knows that this Rotom has to hard switch because the best it can do is a Leaf Storm, which is not going to do a lot because of the flying type. So this is a really free play for Emmo coming up, and he does the really responsible thing, which is to click Substitute, which was the expected Nidoking was the expected mon to come in, and something you can probably guess from just looking at the team preview. Nothing else wants to come into the combination of Air Slash and Thunderbolt, if that's what he's carrying. So Nidoking is the safest one to take both of those hits. And but the benefit here is that you can get some good, interesting, good, helpful chip onto the Nidoking, which is what he's going to take advantage of. So he'll do an Air Slash here, no flinch, which is unfortunate. The Ice Punch, which is useful information that he's going to need for later, and he's going to misplay this information later, but it's information he has available to him, which is that the Air Slash will, or not, sorry, that the Nidoking is physical, and so that gives him information about what can withstand it and what is going to break to it. Anyway, Emolga's forced to switch out here. He knows this. He makes a hard call in going into the Slowking, which is still going to eat a lot of damage. Um, as you'll see later, Slowking has an item, the Shuka Berry, to 1v1 the Nidoking. At this percentage, it was in roll range whether the Nidoking kills with high horsepower or not, so it was a gamble on both parties on what to do. Ultimately, Coil does the safe option and retreats into the Centiskorch, which is going to try to set up here. So he gets the Psychic, which unfortunately activates the Moringa Berry. Hard to know what this is going to do. He probably should not have stayed in. That was a risky stay in because if that was a more offensive off the bat Centiskorch, it could have just immediately eliminated Glowking, and not much would have been gained other than 30% of damage. So getting out away from the Centiskorch was a huge priority here, and he waited a turn, which could have backfired. And a scary thing does happen here where the Toxic misses. And with the Toxic missing, he's now at risk of getting swept by the Centiskorch. And so he's in a bad spot right now. Fire Lash, because it's Emolga, it has no defenses. Fire Lash obliterates Emolga. So he comes in with Mienshao. Obvious call to bring in the Mienshao because at this point he needs to immediately address it. Nothing else on his team is in a position to immediately address it, but he's kind of gambling on the Stone Edge hitting. So 80% of the time it'll be just fine. 20% of the time his game absolutely falls apart on this turn. So this is the make or break turn really, really early on. Fortunately for him, he hits the Stone Edge, and so the game's in a neutral spot again for both of them. Mandibuzz was an odd switch in here. We'll find out later it doesn't actually have a way to address the Mienshao. It only has foul play and U-turn. And so Emmo doesn't know this information yet. Emmo's going to do the responsible thing, assuming Brave Bird and flee to Ferrothorn, I believe. But the ring in by Mandibuzz was anti-pressure, where something like Slowbro could have clicked Future Sight or clicked Teleport, controlled the momentum of the game. He just kind of yields momentum on this turn and lets Ferrothorn come in. And even if it gets the U-turn momentum, he takes unnecessary chip on the Mandibuzz. And then he brings in the Spectrier. Really, really good call by the Spectrier. So this is where Coil could have won the game, and this is where Emmo nearly loses the game. So Emmo's going to do the responsible thing here. Gyro Ball turn 1 against the Spectrier is perfectly fine. But the second it subs and he breaks the sub, he needs to understand that there's a very good chance Coil is running Disable. He's done it multiple times this season already. It's a very common move with substitute Spectrier. And so the thing you absolutely cannot do is click the same move twice in a row. You either click Leech Seed or you hard switch to Hydreigon. You cannot Gyro Ball again because that's just free opportunities for Spectrier to disable you. And then Emmo's going to miss this opportunity and try to Gyro Ball again, get disabled, and be in a really, really bad spot. If he had clicked Leech Seed here, he would have Leech Seeded the Spectrier and been fine, had full control of momentum. Spectrier would have had to leave, but he doesn't. And then he tries to Leech Seed after it's going to substitute again, which again is just not seeing the thing in front of you and what it's trying to do. Clearly it wants to get behind a sub safely, which is why disabling the Gyro Ball was really important. And so at this point, Emmo's had 2 turns in front of the Spectrier where he probably should have ran away, and he at this point needs to get to the Hydreigon because the Hydreigon can wall both the Dark and the Ghost attacks if it's carrying both of those, or it can manage Nasty Plot Shadow Ball okay, which it does in a minute. But Emmo's not going to leave on this turn, and this is a really, really questionable play from Emmo that could have cost him the game because you're giving Spectrier a free chance to Shadow Ball, and all you're putting up is rocks, which don't threaten his team anymore now that Centiskorch is dead. Rocks at most do 12% to the other members of the team. Mandibuzz probably has Boots and Defog, so you're not going to get any damage with the rocks. There's no value in putting these up right now. You need to address what's on the field, not play for the later game. So these rocks are a questionable play. He has to leave to Hydreigon at this point. There's nothing else he can do. He's stayed in way too long. And so Hydreigon's now in 2-hit KO range nearly. It's just outside of it. It's very fortunate he's outside of it. He's able to get a Dark Pulse in here, which is super important to break the substitute, because now at least this isn't behind a sub and ready to sweep. Again, he could predictively click Flamethrower in case it tries to substitute again, or it tries to disable, I'm sorry, in case it tries to disable so that he's still doing some damage. He's going to click Dark Pulse again, and Spectrier is going to substitute again, but Flamethrower was the safer play on this next turn because it ensures that if he subs, you break the sub. He ensures that if you disable, you still do Flamethrower damage. It was the safer call. He gets away with the Dark Pulse here, and then at this point, Coil is going to do the responsible thing and sack the Hydreigon. And so now Coil's in a really good spot, and Coil's in a position now where he doesn't need to be doing what he's about to do on this next turn. He has full control of this game. He has momentum. What he has not done is he has not scouted this Mienshao, and this Mienshao is Scarf, and he's going to learn its Scarf on this turn, but he's not gained this information yet. So to stand in on it when you have your S tier in a position to sweep most of what's left on the opposite side once it gets a Nasty Plot in, this was a very questionable decision that takes away all of his firepower that he had and all of his momentum and puts the game right back to neutral because he tries to attack here rather than just running away. So Mienshao gets a free knockoff. Really easy play from him. Again, he's going to bring in Mandibuzz because Mandibuzz is truly his best option to absorb the knockoff, and Emmo hasn't yet determined whether it's Brave Bird on this set or not, so Emmo has to leave, and he will. He'll do the responsible thing and get out. Ferrothorn is, again, a safe entry. Doesn't care about the foul play, doesn't care about the U-turn. So this is missed information from Emmo at this point, is that it's U-turn foul play. It's very, very unlikely this is 3-attack Mandibuzz. It almost always wants to have Defog and Roost so it can get health back. And so at this point, it should be mostly clear to him that this Mandibuzz isn't able to beat Mienshao all that well. And so Mienshao has a much more free opportunity to attack this Mandibuzz than he might have thought. And so next time he's able to get Mian Shao in for freely against the Mandibuzz, he should feel very confident attacking it. But he won't, I don't think, get this information gathered on his own until much later in the match, after it roosts and after it defogs. And then at that point, it's obviously very clear it can't damage the Mian Shao that well. Anyway, it has to leave the field again. This is a free opportunity to click Leech Seed, keep pressure on the Mandibuzz, because now he can Leech Seed here. He can just Stealth Rock again. He has full control of this right now. Slowbro comes in. You need to be cautious of the Slowbro. It could have Flamethrower specifically for the Ferrothorn matchup. It doesn't, but that's something he needs to be very wary of. So he does actually take the smart move and switch over to Primarina just in case it does. Future Sight's not a big deal. You're not going to care about that damage. So this is a really good play from Emmo and a somewhat questionable play from Coil. Coil probably should have gone into the Rotom because it has Volt Switch, it has momentum. It can absorb a water attack and okay enough of a Moonblast. And the Primarina was in a position to just click Moonblast against the Slowbro. So if he'd have clicked Moonblast right there as the Mandibuzz came in, Mandibuzz would have been instantly sacked. So it was Coil was in a rough Coil was in a rough spot on that turn. He could have done a couple of things. The Mandibuzz was somewhat risky, and it's going to really backfire right here because now this Primarina is safely behind a substitute, and all it has is Foul Play and U-Turn, neither of which are going to break it. And so this is free opportunities for Emmo to set up and try to start winning the game. He has in a couple turns he's going to misplay this, and this is going to make this game last 60 extra turns because of this. Because he's going to Calm Mind safely here. The Future Sight isn't going to break the substitute, which means it's another free Calm Mind, which he's going to do right now. And he's in a really great spot. So here is the huge misplay turn. There is nothing the Rotom can do at this point to beat the Primarina. All you have to do is stay behind the substitute. So it's either going to Leaf Storm or it's going to Volt Switch, and it's already been confirmed to be Volt Switch. It's unlikely to have Volt Switch and Thunderbolt. If it's going to Leaf Storm, it's going to have 0.5 special attack, or 0.5 special attack. So you can, again, safely sub at that point. All Emmo has to do is click substitute at this point, and he will win the game, because the only thing he wants to attack at risk of losing the substitute is the Nidoking. Everything else he wants to make sure he's behind the substitute, and he's going to stay behind the substitute before attacking. So attacking the Rotom Mow here was a huge misplay because it took away his protection against the Nidoking. He would have won this very, very simply if he had just stayed behind the substitute. Or I'm sorry, click substitute again, because now Rotom couldn't have done anything. He could have clicked Moonblast or Scald for free. And he'll get the kill on Rotom Mow here, which is nice, but he had the ability to get all 4 of the kills with the Primarina right here. And so that's going to come in. He's in a bad spot here because he doesn't really have a great switch in to the Nidoking, because it probably has a fire move for Ferrothorn. Still, it didn't feel good sacking that. Slowking here is going to do what Slowking was built to do, which was the Shucka Berry to handle the high horsepower, to absorb the blow, and then kill it with Psychic. Really great tech. This is exactly how you want to use the not the pinch berries, but the super effective resist berries, is to absorb an attack that would otherwise KO you and then KO right back, which is exactly what Glowking does here. Really great play. Basically, all Emmo needs to do at this point in the game is preserve the Slowking, and he can Sludge Bomb and Shadow Ball this out to victory. And he's going to misplay that again in a little bit, and it's very unfortunate because this is one of the reasons this game goes to turn 81 or something like that, is because they both lose all of their offense, essentially, and it's just like it's a stall war. So Mandibuzz comes in. He needs to get out to get Regenerator activated, so he does the responsible thing. Hard switches out. Leech Seed and Stealth Rock, free options right here, just to keep spamming those. He should have done that on this turn. He takes some Scald damage. Sludge Bomb's free. He gets the Sludge Bomb Poison. 2 very great things, because this is ultimately how he's going to win the game, is just Toxic Stall, forcing enough slack offs and things like that. So he has to switch at this point. His health's too low to take another Scald. Again, he does the smart thing. Hard switches to Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn doesn't really care if it gets burned or not, but it needs to start putting Rocks and Leech Seed up just to keep pressuring the Slowbro, because it doesn't have the moves to actually put any damage on Slowbro, which is unfortunate. So we're kind of getting to that point in a stall off. He needs to find a safe entry for Glow King. He could bring it in after this Future Sight turn to get some more health back, get some extra Leech Seed stall, things like that, continue momentum. So he should have, or I'm sorry, it's his next turn. So he takes the Future Sight damage here. Doesn't matter. It's not very effective. He needs at this point hard switch into Glow King, get more health back after coming in and getting Leech Seed damage, which he does. Great play. And so Sludge Bomb is again very free to click. He's going to click Shadow Ball, trying to hope the Slowbro stays in. It doesn't, which is unfortunate. So Shadow Ball doesn't end up doing all that much. But the thing he needs to do at this point is just get off the field with this. There's nothing Mandibuzz can do to Ferrothorn. He's forgotten about the Future Sight, and he's going to eat damage on his Glow King and let it go down here for virtually nothing because this can heal out. So he lets it get sacked here. I think it's a big misplay. But he's going to follow it up by doing something which I think would have also saved the game 40 turns. If he comes in with Mienshao after this goes down, he clicks U-turn and something dies, or he clicks Knockoff and something dies. He's in a position to control the game with U-turn momentum. All he has to do is bring it in, and then Coil is forced to sack something or have it eat a bunch of damage because Slowbro doesn't have enough health to eat the U-turn, the rocks, plus the toxic damage. So something goes down or it gets virtually broken on that turn. He instead comes in with Ferrothorn, which can't exert pressure. It's a free roost for Mandibuzz, and then this game just gets into a slow event. Something, too, I think he should have been aware of, and I don't think he was at the time. When a Pokemon hits Roost, they lose the Flying type for that turn. So Body Press now becomes a super effective attack, which does more damage than Gyro Ball. And so if he'd been Body Pressing right here rather than Gyro Balling, it would have been enough to stall out the healing on the Mandibuzz so that it couldn't successfully heal. You would just keep pressuring it. But it's a missed opportunity, and the game's going to go for a lot longer. We're going to speed up the pace because at this point we're in a stall off where there's not a lot Coil can do to pressure. He's just trying to stay alive in PP stall. But Emmo needs to be bringing in the Mienshao more, and he's not. Like, here's a really free opportunity to switch in Mienshao. He doesn't take it. He just Gyro Balls instead. And so that's momentum lost. And here's an obvious slack off coming from Slowbro. Free opportunity to get Mienshao in. He doesn't take it, which is unfortunate. And so Emmo's in a spot multiple times where he can bring in Mienshao to pressure, and he's not. And he's risking PP stalling his Leech Seeds because if he runs out of Leech Seeds, he's in a really, really hard spot to win this game because there's nothing that Ferrothorn can do to break the Slowbro other than Leech Seed stall. And so it's just a really slow affair. He should be switching out at this turn. No, actually, he's probably at risk of a scald, so not a good clean switch out. But he needs to look for a free opportunity to get in Mienshao and pressure. And he hasn't. He doesn't. He takes way too long in the game to do it, and so it goes extra turns. Another free opportunity to body press, gyro ball, or hard switch to Mienshao. There's nothing he can do if he hard switches to Mienshao right there. That's again a free U-turn. Leech Seed's fine. It says extra stall. But we're just going to get into a heal off again, and there's all these free opportunities for Mienshao to get in and pressure. Things that Ferrothorn can't do anymore just because of the moves it has and the fact that it's burned. So these are just all missed pressure opportunities. I think he's scared of the Mienshao getting burned by the Scald, which is understandable. But you need to be able to pressure it late game. Coil is not in a spot to exert much pressure. He has obvious turns he has to heal, which are turns that are super exploitable for Mienshao to come in safely. It's just about hard calling that turn and getting the right piece in. And it's just going to keep going in this cycle for another 10, 15 turns before something starts to break. He's running out of Leech Seeds. Coil's running out of slack offs. We're kind of getting on the end of this where something eventually gives. Fortunately for Emmo, he's going to get a free opportunity to remove the Slowbro, and that's what's going to end this game. Again, another free opportunity to get Mienshao right here because there's nothing it can do. The Mandibuzz has to heal this turn, and so that's free Mienshao time, which he takes advantage of. Clicking Stone Edge was not the call here. Clicking Knockoff or U-turn was a much better call just because of the opportunity to get damage on Slowbro as well, so that you keep momentum, because it needs to leave here. It can't really be sitting in on the Scald. The fact that it does is a little concerning, and it could have ended the game right there on a high roll burn. And now Mancha's at the point where it can't really enter safely anymore because it's inside of Scald range. And so that was a missed opportunity to pivot, reset momentum, and be in a good spot. And so he's just basically trying to break the Slowbro at this point, which is hard to do when you only have Gyro Ball and Body Press, and it's Rocky Helmet. Again, this is a free Manchow entry opportunity. He needs to bring it in here to exert pressure. I don't think he will. He's running out of Leech Seeds, and that's the problem here. He's getting himself into a PP stall match where Coil is better equipped to win if that's how he lets it play out, when he needs to be exerting pressure with the Mienshao more, because that's how this game is won on his end. Generally, I think Coil will misplay the Slowbro in a few turns, and that's how this game ultimately will conclude. But if Emmo wants to be in a position of control, you got to get the Mienshao in there on free opportunities where Coil either heals or dies. And so it's just unfortunate he doesn't take advantage of that more often. You know, it doesn't cost him the game. It's just an opportunity to exert pressure and control your win condition a little clearer. Because, again, this is a stall off teleport, U-turn, roost, slack off. It makes it really, really hard to break both of those. When the poison damage doesn't get any larger, it just stays the same because it's only the 13% or the 12% per turn. It's not badly toxic, just regular. I think we're near the end where the Slowbro goes down here soon. Future Sight. You know, Coil's doing all he can to exert pressure with 2 defensive Mons. And he's doing a really good job of it, mostly. Keeping the things alive, keeping the pivot strong, creating opportunities to continue to Leech Seed, things like that. But yeah, the Ferrothorn's running out of attacks. It's down to 2 Leech Seeds, it's out of Gyro Balls, it's down to 5 Body Presses. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, Coil is, which is PP stalling. He finally calls the slack off here, which is huge, because now he gets a free knockoff. And that's how he wins this game. Because now at this point you get the Leech Seed on the Mandibuzz, and then there's nothing you can do. Eventually you PP stall it out. There's just nothing Coil can do anymore. So Emmo wins this game. It was an uglier game than it could have been. I think both teams were in a position to execute a win condition much earlier than they thought. Coil unnecessarily sacks his Spectrier much earlier in the game than he should have. He should have scouted for the Scarf Mienshao, because almost always when you're first facing a Spectrier, you're going to have something Scarf to outspeed it so that you can ensure it doesn't sweep with momentum, because it's really, really hard to deal with Spectrier once it gets 1 or 2 boosts. So you want to make sure you have a reliable revenge kill, and he does with the Mienshao. And then Emma was in a position to win with the Primarina very early in the game comparatively. All he had to do was stay behind the substitute in front of the Rotom, and he wins the game because nothing can break it except for the Nidoking, which can't pivot when it does that. So it's a free attack on the Nidoking as it breaks the sub, and then he beats the other 3 very easily with Moonblast. So both teams had opportunities to win it early on. Emmo's going to pull out again in the end after 81 turns, but there was a lot of opportunities to exert pressure or safely get a kill and then get out. Sometimes teams need to take advantage of that more, where they get a KO with one of their better Mons. And then rather than trying to force more kills with it, you just need to understand that your opponent has a good check to stop the sweep, and you need to repivot, take that kill as a win, and then reset and try to get it back in safely to do the same thing again. And that's how you whittle teams down. It doesn't need to be a 6-0 sweep with the one Mon once it gets a Nasty Plot up or a Swords Dance up. Just taking little bits and pieces opportunities to whittle things down, pick up KOs, reset, pivot, do it again. So, good game to Emmo. It was a really hard fought win, all things considered. Just needs to be a little more willing to bring in the Mienshao and exert pressure in some of those scenarios so that Coil's defensive core breaks a little quicker. Coil needs to be a little careful to preserve some of his offensive pieces. As you can see, his defensive core is very, very hard to break, and he does a very good job of showcasing how difficult it can be when you aren't exerting offense on it. And so he just needs to be more careful of keeping his offensive pieces lively so that he can pivot into them late game with that defensive core and pick up KOs. Anyway, I hope you all found this somewhat insightful. This was, I think, a really interesting game. Obviously, a very long game, but there was lots of turns that both players had options available to them. I think they could have capitalized on more. And so I'm hoping they can see those opportunities going forward, take better advantage of them if he sees similar situations again, and then execute their win conditions a little cleaner to pick up some good wins. Anyway, that's all. Thanks, folks.